All right, so here we go for 4.2. We'll get started here. It says the measure of one of the acute angles of a right triangle is given. What's the measure of the other one? So in this case, we have 20.8. So that's one of the other angles, right? So we know that they both have to be complementary because 90 plus the 20.8 plus the other angle have to be 180, and sort of 90 is already taken care of. So if we subtract, right, we would get 69.2 degrees. And then we have, in this case, we have y. So all it's saying is that, well, what we do over here is we took 90 and we just subtracted y, right? So that's all that would be. Over here, again, so there's no way to get an angle in number 7. It's just you get the expression, and that's okay. All right, and we're trying to find the measure of angle m. Well, to find m, I need to find y, and so I see that I need to write an equation. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I know 48 is an exterior angle, and I know that that's going to be equal to the sum of the remote interior angles. So essentially, I know that the remote interior angles are angle m and n, so that'd be 3y plus 1 is going to be, plus 2y plus 2 is going to be equal to 48. So we get 5y plus 3 equals 48. We get 5y equals 45. So y equals 9, which is still trying to find the measure. So we plug it on back in, and we get 3 times 9 plus 1, 27 plus 1. So we get 28. So the measure of angle M is 28 degrees. All right. It says find in triangle ABC, A equals 65. The measure of the exterior angle at C is 116. All right, so it looks like we're going to have to draw this out. So if I say, A, B, C, so we have A, B, C. It does say that there's an exterior angle at C, so I'm just going to keep on going to make one. I should probably put that C down there. But basically, now that I can start labeling here, right, and I'll do so. So we know that angle A is 65. We know that the exterior angle is 117. So it says we want to find B and then BCA. So basically this one and this one. Well, we could find BCA pretty, straightforward, but we do know that the sum of these two angles, angle A and angle B, are going to add up to this angle right here, this exterior angle. So basically 117 minus 65. Right? And so we get 52 degrees. So we know that this is 52. And you could either do triangle sum to get this interior angle at C, or you can just subtract and get 63 from, there you go. So there you go. There's all the angles. Okay, and we talked about not doing these. So they're not so bad, but as far as time goes, I'm not going to do them. All right, so here we go on these. So angle number 1, so it's over here. So it looks like we need to start with 1. We'll go 2, and we'll just work our way through. But basically, I'm going to draw them on the diagram, then I can mark them over there. But in this case, I see we have this triangle right here. So we have a 90 and a 40. So we know that this has to be 50 in order for them to add to 180, right? And then we could do a lot of things, right? If this is 50, then angle 3 is 50 because of vertical angles. Angle 2 is 130 because of linear pair. Angle 4 is vertical angle or linear pairs. So we have 4 was 130. We had 2 was 130. We had 3 was 50. All right, so 4 of those 6 done already. All right, then we're trying to find the measure of angle 5, which again isn't so bad because we have a triangle right here, this right triangle with a 90, a 50, and so we know that this has to be 40 because it has to add up to 180. And then we have the same thing down in this bottom triangle, right? So 20, 130, and 6 have to add up to 180 as well. And there's a couple ways to go here as well to get 6, but this is probably the most straightforward way. So together this is 150, so it has to be 30. And you can check other ones too to make sure they make sense. Like if this is 90, these two angles together are 70. And so I'm looking at sort of another right triangle there. So like the 20 and the 70 and the 90, right? They make another triangle and that's still 180. So it seems to all work pretty well. All right. We did many of these in class, but also I'll walk through them quickly. But basically the main thing here is that if they give me, the information they give me is not unnecessary. They're going to give me some things and I should take heed of them, right? They're parallel lines, so I should say, I should probably use those. So I'm going to think, okay, well, this right here is 43. X has to be 43 as well. And those are alternate interior angles based on the fact that these are parallel lines. It's basically like we have this, we have a line going through it. There's other stuff happening in the middle, but it essentially comes down to those two angles. So if that's 43, we know that this is 75. So now we can say we have 105, we have that 75, that's 105. That should be a pretty quick linear pair vertical angle situation. And we can find y just from recognizing that we have these two. We can add them up to, or make them add up to 180. So it looks like we have 148. So it looks like we have 32 would be left there. All right. Next one. We look for a triangle with, again, I'm always looking for a triangle with two angles in it so I can find the missing third. Doesn't look like I have that yet, but I do have 118. So let's start there. It's part of, if I have these two lines, nothing on that transversal, so I'll go right here. We have 118 is here, which means X would also be 118, right? Just from the fact that those are corresponding angles, right? And then, so the angle right under 118 will be 62. And this would be 118, and this would be 62. Now, they may be unnecessary, but I did them anyway. And then now we have 62 plus 22 plus y add up to 180. So it looks like those two together are 84. So we have 96. So y is 96. All right. Maybe I'll go back and write down what they are. But as we're doing them, I say them, so it's okay. In this case, no parallel lines, but I do, let's see, I have a 90, I have a 20, which means that this has to be 70 to add up to 180. Vertical angles going on here. I could say that that's 110. That's 110 as well. All right, now it looks like in this tiny triangle in the top left, we have 25, 70, and x. So we could add those together, get 95, which means x is going to be 85. And now we can say, this I could have done at the beginning. We know that this is also 90, right? Because those two are next to each other. They both have to be 90. So that's 90, that's 25. So if we just subtract, we know that has to be sort of 55 here. No, 65 here. All right. Good there. And let's see. In this case, we have parallel lines. We have the 64. Oh, look, so this has to be 26, right? X has to be 26. And so does this, because those are alternate interior angles based on the parallel lines. And so if that's 26, and this has to be 64. Okay, looking at the next one. Looking at a right angle here. Nothing I can do about that. Oh, but I do have this other triangle where I have 15 and 47. So that's 50. That's 62, right? So we have 118 that this has to be for them to add up to 180. And another trick would be that X is also an exterior angle of this, which means it would add up to 47 plus 15. So we know it would have to be 62. But again, that's also a linear pair there. Then we have that 62. Then this has to be 28 for them to add up to a 180 for me to in this right triangle right here. On this one, looks like we have, what do we have here? We have a 35 here. We have a 90 here. So this looks like this is 55 right there, which means that this is 55, which means X is 35. So 35 in here. And then we know that this right here is 125. And if we have 18 and 125, right, that gives me 143. So 143 and 37, 47, I mean. So y has to be 47. All right. Wait, is that too much? No, I think that's all right. What did I say? It's 143. Yeah, so 37. I'll try to catch myself, people. Sorry. All right. All right, so use what the information they give us. Okay, so let's bounce through these as well. So sometimes, again, the idea is you're going to have to find angles that they're not asking for in order to find angles you are. So in this case, we have 31 and 82. So together, that's going to be 113, which means we need 67 is this one. Oh, that happens to be P as well as 67. Now we have 67 and 98. So that is 165. So this has to be 15 degrees. And again, I'm doing all this sort of arithmetic in my head. So if I make a mistake there, hopefully the ideas are still there and I can let me know if they are and I'll fix them. All right, so we're looking here if we have 28 and 53. Now, a shortcut here would be to avoid finding this angle because I know that these are both remote interior angles to find this, so I just add them up and get 81. So I know that's 81 right there. So 81 was y. And so 81 plus 17 is 98, right? So 98 means that this has to be 82 degrees. Sorry. All right. And we go down here. This one's a little tricky. I'd say I just start by marking down things that I know. This is, again, these are parallel. So I'm looking for certain angles and lines. So I know that these are the same. So this is also 23. And then now I have two angles inside of our same right triangle. So add them up. And we get 102. So this is 102, right? Then this has to be 78, sorry. So that was 78 is A. Okay, and then we're thinking a couple ways to go here. We know that this is the same as this. So what I'd say is something plus 50, because these are remote exterior angles, so this 79. So 50 plus something has to give me 79, so that just has to be 29. And there's a lot of ways to do that. You could have found this angle as sort of 101 there. And if that is 101, then you could have added those up and subtracted from 180 as well. So a couple ways to do that, but that's basically what I ended up doing, is finding this angle and recognizing that this angle was the same as B because these are parallel, right? That's kind of what I did there. Okay. Cruising along. All right, we got 4. This one's a little tricky, but I think the main thing is that we know that if this is 100, this is 100 right here, and then each one of these have to be 40 because they're the same and they add up to 80 together, right, after I subtract that 100. Okay. And so now I'd say, well, okay, we have this is 100, and this also has to be 100 because those are corresponding. It's sort of like I have these are parallel, and then I have a long line going across here, and so it's like here and here. Stuff happening between, but still. All right, and then we basically can say, well, if this is 40, we know that these are parallel lines right here, and this is my transversal, so this has to be 40, which means that this has to be 40, which means that this has to be 40. So S is 40. Which means R actually also has to be 40. So again, it all started with just sort of using one set of, or actually both sets of parallel lines. Okay, this is 85. This is marked down there as 85. So now once we use that to find this, we can add these up and get 116. So we get 64 here is Y, which means this is 64, which actually means that this has to be 31. So 31, 64, just adding to 180 a lot. All right, in this case, the equation that I know is basically I can add up all these interior angles to get to 180. So we have 30 plus 4x plus 100 minus x plus 7x. We know that's going to give me 180 here. So how many x's we got? Looks like we have 10 x's and we have 130 equals, oops, that's a plus, sorry, 180. So we get 50 equals 10x, so x equals 5. And if x is 5, we're trying to find y. So what I'd do is I'd plug it in here and get 7 times 5 is 35. And then I'd subtract to get 145 for y because they're a linear pair. That's definitely one way to do it. Yeah, I hope I did that right. Okay. All right, looks like the last one here. All right, these should go pretty quick, I think. So the measure of angle 1, right, we know it's going to be 112 because those are a linear pair. The measure of angle 2 has to be 68 because they're vertical angles, or a linear pair with angle 1, but sort of take your pick. And this is 90, 3 and 4, and this are also 90, so 90 is for 3 and 4, right? That whole cluster is going to be 90s. Across the board, so we have 90 and 68, which means that this has to be 22. So 5 has to be 22 because of that interior triangle there. Add up to 180. And then we can subtract from 180 to get angle 6. So we get 158. All right. So that is that. That's 4.2. Thanks a lot.